I am Taylor Ross. I am the YWIN New York president, and I am honored to introduce two incredible women who are breaking barriers and inspiring change in their fields. Our first keynote speaker is a powerhouse of creativity and activism. Ariel Frenkel is a dynamic content creator whose work spans beauty, fashion, dating, and social activism. She first captured national attention as the first outspoken Jewish contestant on The Bachelor, using her platform to share her Jewish identity proudly. Beyond her media presence, Ariel is a passionate human rights advocate and motivational speaker. She has courageously reported from conflict zones in Israel, providing firsthand insights into the complex realities of the Middle East and highlighting the stark differences between those realities and the Western media narratives. Ariel's journey inspires us to lead authentically, champion what we believe in, and embrace the power of our voices. Next, we have the extraordinary Dr. Logan Levkoff, a trailblazer in the fields of sexuality and relationships. Dr. Levkoff is an internationally recognized expert who has educated and empowered people across the globe. Many of you may recognize her from roles on national television, including as host of Mom, Ed, in the Bedroom, and Married at First Sight, or her widely read columns in the Huffington Post. She is also the author of 3 influential books, including Got Teens, The Dr. Mom's Guides to Sexuality, Social Media, and Other Adolescent Realities. Dr. Levkoff is an engaging speaker and an innovator in education. She has designed impactful programs for schools, universities, and community organizations to foster understanding and dialogue around sexuality. A proud member of JWI's Board of Trustees, she continues to shape how we approach these essential conversations in society today. We are so fortunate to have them with us to share their insights and wisdoms. After they give their remarks, we will have time for some questions and answers. So please join me in giving a warm welcome to 2 remarkable women today, Ariel Frenkel and Dr. Logan Levkoff.
Hello, everyone.
This is on. Now it is.
Yeah, we didn't plan this, by the way, to be like blonde and
yeah, it's
fair,
Serene and
black,
Blair.
yeah, very much so. So I think that maybe we should start with some, like the elephant in the room, which is we are both very outspoken Zionists, and you know, that comes with some charming feedback. I don't know if you knew that. Do you want to share some of your?
I mean, my favorite thing I've been called is tits for propaganda, and I've been running with it ever since.
Oh, that's good.
So, yeah.
That's good. I wrote down some, I have to say. I get called like genocide Barbie a lot. That's fun. I'm like,
Let me hear the Barbie part.
Oh, I also get aged Yenta. I think that'll be my next tattoo.
I'll get a matching one.
Yeah, but you're not this age yet. Like you have.
I'll just be a Yenta.
Okay, that works. But I will say my favorite is Dollar General Dr. Ruth. Which, wait, I just want to say, my response to that was, she was trained as a sniper in the Haganah. I just target morons online. You're right, she wins. So, I mean, this is all in a day's work, right?
Very therapeutic. This feels like a therapy session.
So, share with us first, and then, you know, I'll give you my perspective. What is it like to be on The Bachelor and then all of a sudden have this platform to be a proud Jew?
Well, I went from dating a goy to being an outspoken Zionist, but I guess I always was the whole time. I thought it would be difficult to be public-facing, and I was actually the first outspokenly Jewish figure on the show. There's been a lot of Jews on The Bachelor in the past, but the Christian Judeo values are not always exemplified through Jews. And it was really nice to be able to speak on being first generation. My family's from Ukraine. I really actually enjoyed building out a very avid fan base that was predominantly non-Jewish, and then having a base that was Jewish, so I could create support for both and have conversations with non-Jewish communities on what it's like to be Jewish, what it looks like to be Jewish, and how many different facets of that there are. So when the conflict happened, I naturally had a platform, and I didn't realize how important it was going to be to have to use it. The first thing I ever posted was, this is the biggest genocide of Jews since the Holocaust. That was around October 9th, because I was at a wedding and I only knew about what was happening due to my Jewish fan base. So the responses I got to that were not kind. A lot of people within my community were predominantly not Jewish, and the pushback, the celebration, the radical responses I got made me realize there's a huge market to actually have to speak on these things, and if I don't, who else is going to? And if I don't for this generation, for younger generations and so on, there's going to be a lot of fear online, and I need to create a safe space for people online.
It's interesting because while the events of October 7th shocked me, I was, unfortunately, not really surprised by what came after. Even though I am best known for my work in the world of sexuality education, my platform has changed dramatically over the last 5 years. I'm basically a professional Jewish mom. I take that title very proudly, by the way, though you should feel badly for my children that are sitting right there. And if you don't like me, you should blame my mother, who's sitting right next to them. But, you know, one of the things we were seeing in our hyper-progressive private school in New York City was all of the stuff we're seeing now. And so I've been spending years fighting the unapologetic and unabashed anti-Semitism that you know exists. And in May of 2021, at the last big Hamas-Israel flare-up, I watched my field of sexuality educators, people who support like reproductive justice and consent and bodily autonomy and indigeneity, all of a sudden twist themselves into pretzels to justify how much they hated Jews and how much they wanted to buy into all the conspiracy theories about us. And this was 4 years ago, and I was like, no more, we're done. And so my platform changed. But I will tell you, I think that there is something about, and something we can all learn about being fearless, right? I mean, if we're not going to be fearless now, when? When? This is our moment. So, I mean, what do you do to get past the fact that there's a lot of blowback? Not all of it is nice, and sometimes you have to like put on a smile and just charm them anyway.
Well, I think about the people that I do it for. I have predominantly been surrounded by people that are outside of my community. I've always had to kind of preach and speak on things and speak in a way that people that are not Jewish can understand. At the time of the conflict, I was actually dating someone that was Lebanese Christian. That was its own story. It's going to be a long chapter. But I find confidence in what I'm doing because I've been able to, without trying to, change a lot of people's minds. And when you approach activism without being on the defensive, I don't even really like the term Zionist anymore because it is a passé term. It happened. Israel will exist. I don't need to prove that it needs to continue to exist. I don't need to prove that I should exist as a Jewish woman. I don't believe in proving anything. I just believe in existing and like saying your piece and saying what you need to say to articulate what is important to you. It's kind of interesting because I was thinking about, this is my alma mater. I went to GW, and I remember that at GW, I'm probably going to sue them soon, but for anti-Semitism. So don't quote me on that. But I remember at school, just being back here is very nostalgic. I remember being at school and I was able to be a girl. I wasn't a Jewish girl. I wasn't anything but a girl trying to lose her virginity and hopefully not get cheated on. Those are my main priorities. And education, obviously. But now, seeing the people on campus and speaking to GW students today, they are Jewish women. They are Jewish first because they don't have the option not to be. So the reason why I advocate and the reason why this is important is to create a space for them that they feel like they don't have to be proving themselves, defending themselves, and making it look kind of easy. I obviously have hard days, and I will talk about that and show that, but it's going to make it easier for other people. So on the days that I'm being called a name or certain things, or the death threats honestly just give me attention, so I like it. I feel like it's an uphill battle, but if I don't fight it, and if I don't do this, then how are people going to feel on campus in 10 years? How are younger generations and eventually my kids going to feel? They're not going to feel comfortable or safe, so I have to do this, not for myself, but for everyone else in this room.
you should know, we have very thick skin and very good dermatologists, so you can't see any of it. But trust me, it's there. You know, it's funny because when I started speaking up about unapologetic Judaism and Zionism, and I come from a long line of American Zionist leaders, so I feel, I totally understand the wanting to shed the title because Israel exists and is here to stay. I really like it because it infuriates so many people that I just feel like I want to just wear it all the time. But, you know, when my platform changed and I was getting so many disgusting things said, I started to make content using nasty things that people said to me and just responding to them. And if you want to know what people hate, they hate Jewish women who respond with a smile. Like, it infuriates people, which is amazing, so we should use it to our advantage. But one of the things that I was doing was I was responding to people, and my husband said, "What are you doing?" Like, could you imagine what it's like to be married to me? It's not easy. And he said, "What are you, like, you're just amplifying these morons." And I said, "No, I'm not." I said, first of all, I'm controlling my own narrative. I said, but more importantly, what I really wanted was for my peers who, and this was before October 7th, to wake up and see what was out there. I spent years like screaming into the void, being called Chicken Little. Everyone would like pat me on the head like, "Oh, you're so cute and you worry about so much." I'm like, okay, good luck with that. Part of it was just controlling the story. The one thing I want to say, and I know you would agree, is despite how challenging it is, we are on a winning team. Like, despite the odds, we've got, yes, we are a winning team. Despite the odds over and over again for thousands and thousands of years, we are still here. And look at us, like, we're rock stars, top of our game. And I think that's an important thing to remember, even when we're feeling, perhaps like the thick skin is wearing off slightly.
But we need to go to the dermatologist.
Yes, time for a checkup. So what has been the biggest challenge for you in this process?
I think letting go of wanting to change people's minds. I went in pretty bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. I thought I could make a lot of impact and difference, but I did in a very different way than I thought I could. And I think giving up control was very difficult, and giving up the fact that there will be some people, and many people, that will never believe me. They will never believe any Israeli woman. They'll never believe a Jewish woman. And I've come to realize that I actually find that bigotry is very impersonal. People don't hate me because I'm Jewish. They don't hate me because I'm Ariel. They don't hate me because I have this kind of humor, or I do this, or my appearance, or anything like that, of anything I have to say. They don't like me because I'm Jewish, and that's kind of boring. So I've come to realize that because bigotry is so impersonal, a lot of this hatred and a lot of the difficulty online, it just doesn't matter. So I think the biggest challenge is accepting there's people whose minds I will not change, and not even wanting to anymore.
I find also that there is an opportunity. We do use humor well, right? I mean, that's our strategy for a lot of things. A few months ago, I woke up. It was right around the time like Columbia really just became out of control and unmanageable, and I woke up to like thousands of messages on the artist formerly known as Twitter, X, and I could not and on Instagram, and I could not figure out what was happening till I realized that some giant pro-Hamas, like hundreds of thousands of followers network, posted that I was the girl at Columbia in the keffiyeh and masked, holding up the sign, basically trying to trick Hamas into getting the Jews and to like get the movement into trouble. Okay, so I cannot, and they don't believe you ever, right? They're like, it was you. I said, I'm gonna need you to pick a lane. Either I'm an aged yenta or you think I'm hanging out at Columbia. Like, which is it? And by the way, I wouldn't be caught dead in a keffiyeh, and that girl's hair color sucks. Mine is great. It's so ridiculous. But these are the strategies I think that we have to employ when it feels like it gets so overwhelming. Remember who we are at the end of the day, and that we have this ability, to be fearless and authentic and do it not just for us, for all of the people who came before us and all of the people who are going to come after us.
You can always turn it into a meme.
Okay, I don't know how to do that. I'm of an age I don't know how to make a meme. But if you
Help
tell
you
me,
make a TikTok and a meme.
I can do a TikTok, although my daughter will say they're maybe not that great.
Different fan bases.
So what do you think has been like the best thing to come out of a year that, I mean, as we look around the room, right, there are these gems, there are these moments despite the exhaustion. So what's been like this great moment for you?
So I lost a lot this year. I lost my partner because of the difficulty of that relationship, through the conflict, amongst other things. I lost 10-year-long friends. I lost job opportunities. I lost financial opportunities. I lost even an initial part of a fan base that I thought I had that was so supportive. But what I gained was actually a very, very, very strong community base within the Jewish community. I've spent most of my life kind of veering outside of the Jewish community while always being very proud to be part of it, but I always wanted to hear narratives of people that have very different perspectives to me. So I've always lived in different places, always met very different people, always been interested in teaching others about what it's like to be Jewish, to be pro-Israel, and this was the year that I found out what it's like to actually be embraced by the community in a completely different way than I anticipated. There's so much strength among the Jewish community, amongst Jewish women, amongst Israeli women, and I actually learned that strength when I was in Israel. And so I think this year cut out the unnecessary people that I was keeping around for too long, like the ones that posted a paraglider with a heart, how chic. And I've decided that I'm going to build a very strong network around myself. So I've learned my strength, my fortitude, and how important it is to have a community of not only women, but people in your life that actually authentically support you when the worst things will happen to you.
I have found that this year has been extraordinary in so many ways. Part of it is in about 2022, I was feeling so totally untethered. Like maybe it was an age thing, a hormonal thing, I don't know, but I just felt like I needed to get my feet on the ground, I needed to get my hands in the dirt. And I realized it had been 7 years since I had been to Israel with my kids. And I came home one day, and I looked at my husband, and I said, I need to go to Israel. And he's like, great, we'll plan a trip next year. You know, our son, Maverick, is applying to college right now. Like, we can't go now. Next year. I said, yeah, I feel like that's not really what I was saying to you. And he said, well, when do you think you were going to go? I said, actually, in 3 weeks. I'm going to go you could come, you don't have to. 3 weeks works for me. And I got on a plane. And I will tell you that since October 7th, I go back to Israel in 2 weeks for my 8th trip since October 7th. It has been a privilege, a privilege to be there to witness, to be a part of our family, because we are indeed one family, despite the fact that there has been this incredible divide between the diaspora and Israeli Jews. We are one family, and we've never learned that lesson more than right now. I think that one of the best things for our community as a whole, and for me, is this reminder that we've had the luxury of thinking that Israel needed us more than we needed her, and how wrong we were. We are all one family, despite all of our differences and political differences, and I would apply that here now. I think we find ourselves in these binaries, in these silos. We are one family, and we have to start treating each other like one family. And I think that lesson has really resonated with me this year, and a reminder of who we are and what we are capable of, but we are so much more capable of it when we do it together. And that's been really extraordinary for me, I think.
What advice would you give to your daughter? She's here.
She's here, and she's like, she gives me advice every day. I'm not really sure. Well, I think I will say this. I had the honor of being a woman to watch in 2018, and I remember what my pearl was. And I think the same thing applies. You are more than enough. Whoever you are, whatever your voice is, however you choose to use your voice and your body, the decisions you make, you are more than enough. I think we live in a world where we're told all the things we are supposed to do more and more. I don't expect either of my kids to be me. I'm a lot. But I want them to use the innate skills and feelings that they have to do what they feel capable and confident doing. And so I would say to everyone, right, you are more than enough as you are right now, and you have all the tools and skills to be able to withstand whatever is going to come at us today, tomorrow, or 10 years from now. What do you think there are a lot of young people in general, but your fan base, people who look up to you, who want to know how do you do what you do?
I don't think about it that much, no. I think it's important to every day remember that this is just not, like, this might be my platform right now, this might be the audience that I have right now, but it is very important to make people feel like they are not alone in what they're going through. Any experience that you have is going to be very similar to someone else's. So in moments that I feel like I'm having a moment of extreme vulnerability, I try to take that online and share that because someone else will relate to that. As difficult as it is to keep advocating, as difficult as it is to always be smiling and brave and all these things, I think that bravery, the messages that I actually get from people and the people that have stopped me and said, I posted this because of you. I have 300 followers, but 5 of them reached out to me after I posted and made a huge difference. Thank you for doing what you do, even on a small or large scale. So I think that for my fan base, it's important to make them feel like I'm with them and I represent them in the best of ways. And I represent them with a smile, with class, with elegance, and with humor as well, because things don't have to be so serious all the time. You don't have to be this strong advocating Zionist all the time. You can still be a girl again.
So I want to just say one last thing, sorry, is that being a part of JWI, and you're obviously all here because of JWI, in this particular time means more now than ever before. JWI has unapologetically, with the help of Seed the Dream, it has been an honor to be a part of the I Believe Israeli Women delegation, and there's a table of founding sisters right there. But I want to say that you are here at this really incredible time because there are not many organizations who would unapologetically take on this task. And so all of you in this room, I thank you because you are all here for the same reason, and that's supporting the values that JWI holds dear in this critically important time for all of us. So thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
We're not quite done with you guys. Is this on? And my voice is, there we go. We're not quite done with you guys yet. But thank you for bringing some levity and humor to a situation. I think that helps all of us endure. And I don't want to cut you off either. This is like such great entertainment I could watch all day. But we want to open up some Q&A to the audience. We have people with microphones, so if you have a question for either of them, please raise your hand. It's over here in the center.
So you kind of touched on this, but I would love to hear more about how you navigate, people that you've had in your life and you love very much, but also are like extremely anti everything that you believe in when it comes to Israel, because I've had to deal with that, and it's really hard when you have had a long-time friend and someone that you truly, really love and care about, but know that they're not really as there for you as you thought they were. How do you go about that?
Cut 'em. I'm half joking, but I have had this experience a lot this year. Again, I had predominantly non-Jewish friends, a non-Jewish partner, was in very non-Jewish communities, particularly Middle Eastern communities that don't respect Israel very much. And it took this conflict for a lot of them to officially articulate how they feel. And for me, friendship needs to have a foundation, and needs to have a foundation of honesty and respect. I have a lot of friends that do not share the same values as me and the same beliefs as me when it comes to the conflict, but they're respectful. Like, they know that I came here, and they might be, like, I'm both pro-Israel and pro-Palestinian. I'm pro-peace in the Middle East, pro-progress Middle East. So I have a lot of friends that are not, I have a lot of friends. I hate the pro thing as well. I think we should eradicate that too, because you shouldn't be anti. But I have a lot of friends that have texted me today that are not Jewish, that are not necessarily supportive of Israel, or at least they're like less open-minded, and they have messaged me and said, good luck today. I hope you have an amazing time. They won't post and they won't engage with me on social media for their own personal discomfort, but I've seen the support of a lot of people that are not Jewish and not necessarily supportive for me as a person. And then I have even Jewish friends that did not support me because they couldn't deal with the wave of hatred, of animosity, and so on. They just wanted to have a peaceful life. So you have to differentiate between the people that are worth having in your life versus cutting, but you can't hold on to people. Even I've lost 10-year-long friends. My partner, we were friends for 10 years, and it was not worth holding on to something that I'm holding on to harder than it's serving me. So that's an application for life in general. But you can't have all this negativity in your life in your inner circle in addition to your outer circle already being toxified. So let go of the friendship if they're not believing you or supporting you in just a basic friendship level because you're pro-Israel or Jewish. Cut them.
Thank you.
I really couldn't say it any better than that. Look, being who we are right now does come with a cost, right? Like my sex ed career is, well, I'm not sure there's much of a sex ed career left. There's not really a lot of a media career left for me. And I can ask whether it was chicken or egg, but the fact is things are a little too coincidental when they were happening around the same times. But I would say this, the people that I do surround myself with and the people I do work with are the most amazing, extraordinary people. And we don't always have to share the same political perspectives, but we share the same core values, right? And at the end of the day, who we are as Jews and our connection to our history, because it is history and it is fact and it is indigeneity, that is who we are. So if we're not respected for that, then that person doesn't respect us. And it's painful. It's totally painful. And yes, my circle has gotten smaller, but it's gotten a lot better because I know who the people are around me. But that doesn't mean it doesn't hurt, for sure.
Beautifully said, thank you. Any other questions? Anna, right up here.
Thank you both so much. You kicked off, obviously, and talked a lot throughout about all of the kind of online harassment and hate that you both experience and deal with on a daily basis, and kudos to both of you for being so brave and posting through it and laughing it off and saying, oh, death threats, whatever, but unfortunately what we're seeing is that obviously you're Jewish, it's compounded by the fact that you're women, and there's such a disproportionate amount of online harassment and hate directed at women online. And you both are so brave, but unfortunately we're seeing it have this chilling effect on women wanting to use their voices online, wanting to run for office for fear of the same thing, wanting to be CEOs. So what kind of do you think can or should be done about this issue of online harassment and hate directed at women, whether by the platforms, by the government? What can we do about this? Because not everyone is as brave as the two of you.
I think, well, first and foremost, if you're going to advocate online, you have to be very safe in a lot of ways. Like, I make sure to have a PO box and things like that people can't message me directly. I have had to create safety issues for my roommate and I, and so on. So safety day to day, you have to be very vigilant and careful. If you need security for hosting an event or things like that, definitely lean safe forward. So what's interesting is, coming from the reality TV space, I've been tracking a lot of the hatred online in general, unrelated to being Jewish. So the death threats, the hate that women receive, the hatred and vitriol just for women. So I've kind of tested out a few different ways of communicating online. I'll make funny viral videos that are kind of in the feminist space. The hatred that I receive from men, the threats of, can I say rape? The threats of all these things and physical violent threats and sexual threats and so on exist for me regardless of being Jewish. So the way these social media platforms are not monitored, they're not protecting women, and unfortunately you have to protect yourself and know how to stop people. When people start harassing to a certain extent, don't be afraid to block them, push them out, because it is not worth having that risk in your life.
But I 100%. And also, I think there's an institutional problem as well, right? Which is what gets through and what doesn't. By the way, I have responded to things on TikTok that basically either call me a Nazi or something, which, I mean, okay. But my videos responding to them get blocked. I'm like, the person who called me a Nazi is good? Like, we're cool with that? Like, using all sorts of slurs. So there's definitely a problem that we have to deal with. And again, beyond the free speech issue, there is no question that we need to draw more attention to the fact that women disproportionately get harassed online all the time, over and over again. And I don't know where that balance is yet. But I think that those are really important conversations that need to take place. There's always a substitute or an alternative. Go from Twitter to Blue Sky. Okay, great, but there's going to be something there too. I will say one thing though, and I really don't mean to sound flippant about the nastiness because I recognize how hard it is. But I will share a story, and I hope my kids will let me share this. I should have asked for their consent in advance, but just say yes. But I got a call about 3 months ago from my daughter, who's like, so 2 people sent me nasty messages online that tell my Zionist mommy she kills babies. And so I was at a dinner, and I literally was like, who is the person? Give me their name. I will go and find them, and I will take care of this myself. And I said, okay, are you okay? And she said, I'm fine. I blocked them. These people are idiots. And I think it's really important also to remind the people in our lives, whether they're our offspring or our peers or our cousins or our parents or grandparents, that these people are idiots, right? But we can't give them so much attention and power. They're keyboard warriors, right? They would never say this thing to your face. One of the things, and I would venture to say the same thing to you, years ago when I was on Married at First Sight, I had this day of this gross thing about my peers and I had come out. It was all lies, but my husband found me sobbing, literally sobbing on my couch. And I might have been drunk too, just saying. And he said to me, why are you crying? I said, Cupcake Lover 415 said that, whatever horrible thing someone said. And he said, do you know Cupcake Lover 415? I said, no. And he said, let me ask you something. If Cupcake Lover 415 saw you on the street, would they punch you in the face or ask to take your picture? And I thought, interesting. Probably asked to take my picture. He said, what are you giving these idiots any more credit than they deserve? And I think that's a reminder for us, blocking, reporting. By the way, reporting doesn't always work. They don't really care, but...
It doesn't work on TikTok. Don't even try.
But I think acknowledging it, and then sometimes putting people on blast is a little bit of fun, and letting your friends and your allies, fight for you is a great thing, as a reminder, and it teaches you who your friends are too.
Thank you. Thank you. I do think part of what Stephanie was saying is you guys do bring a lot of levity to this, but it's also really brave what you guys are doing. And on behalf of all of us, thank you so much for doing that and for putting yourselves out there. It really means so much. I think we have time for about one more question. There's one, Sierra.
So this is a bit of a more general question. How did you both bring your Jewishness into your platforms? Did you feel the need to defend yourself? Did you feel like your Jewish values were something that kind of happened more organically? And then specifically for Ariel, I think as you were preparing to be on The Bachelor, did you think about your Jewish identity? And did you think about the need to have that conversation, or did it kind of happen because of things that were happening at the time?
So I kind of wanted to be a dark horse and a Trojan horse in a way. I went into the show not thinking I would actually speak about being Jewish initially, or if I was going to speak about anything, it would be only Jewish, and I wouldn't speak about Israel because I wanted to grow. If I did develop a platform from it, I was going on for dating, but that's a big part of my identity. So I wasn't never going to hide that from the person I was going to potentially have as a partner. If I were to build a platform from it in addition to that, because they're not mutually exclusive, I knew that if I were to speak on these things, I have to bring people in slowly. My kind of objective is to always get the non-Jewish community, people that are kind of neutral, the really big majority that doesn't fully understand, to understand what it's like to be Jewish, then what Israel means, and then kind of bring them in slowly. So I went in with the intention, if I'm going to say anything, to be Jewish, because when I was first announced on the show, I had a post in Israel. It was just, honestly, it was a thirst trap. And I was trying to make an Israeli guy jealous. But or maybe a Palestinian one at that point. But I basically posted this photo. It was one of the first photos on my feed when I was announced on the show. And the hatred that I got and the commentary and all these bots that were flocking, saying really ridiculous anti-Semitic things, versus the girls that were announced on the show that were upset that they were called a philanthropist versus a farmer. I was like, run with that. So I remember thinking, I was talking to my friend who's actually Israeli, and she has the same name as me, and shout out. She told me I should take the post down and think long term. So in doing the show, I was thinking, what is my long-term strategy? My instant response, since I have a Ukrainian background, I'm feisty, I want to be aggressive, I want to fight for the fact that I'm able to be in the United States, and my parents were not able to have any privileges in the country they came from. So I always am the fighter in the positions I'm in. She told me, be silent on Israel for now, and eventually speak about it when you get to a certain point. When October 7th happened, I couldn't hold that back anymore. And what's interesting is all these things unfold in a very serendipitous way. When I was doing the show, I befriended a lot of producers that were very, not necessarily pro-Israel, but very pro-me being outspokenly Jewish. So they actually pushed me and encouraged me to speak about being first generation, and that in the context of being Jewish. So it happened in a very natural and organic way. And then once I was outspokenly Jewish, just such a weird term, I was just Jewish, I eventually had now a platform of people that were so excited about me being Jewish that I used that as much as I could and just was naturally Jewish. I don't believe in being defensive, offensive, or anything. I believe in being naturally what you are, regardless of what people say. Because I came to realize on the show and in my experience in being public facing, the hatred that you receive is just is equivalent to the love you receive. Neither matters. It matters how you view yourself and what your self-efficacy is, because when you take the compliments in a really positive way, you're very inflated, it feels like a nice feeling, but then so does the hatred. So regardless, I think you can't take either so personally. You have to keep being proudly Jewish and have to keep advocating.
So this is where we differ. I am offensively Jewish and Zionist. I lead with it everywhere I go. I want to make sure everyone knows, but again, different. And I say that half joking, half seriously.
First fight.
And maybe there'll be others. It's okay. We have conflicts too. I never for my entire career, I never hid the fact that I was Jewish. I didn't think it was so hard to figure out. But then, all of a sudden, years ago, when I watched my field, twist themselves into knots, I was like, hell no. Now they're going to know who I am in ways that they cannot possibly ignore. And by the way, some of that comes with the privilege of age and not caring anymore. Some of that comes with the privilege of raising kids who I need to model for them how fearless I want them to be, because I would say this. My kids are extraordinary warriors for Israel and for Jews and do it in very different ways, right? One is a lightning rod, the other works behind the scenes very quietly, but equally as effective. And people ask a lot, how is it that we raise a new generation of fearless Jews? And the answer is this. They absolutely have to know that there are adults who they love and trust unconditionally who have their back, who model for them what it means to fight back and be proud. And we have to do that with them. This is a partnership. Resilience is not the default setting for all people. It comes with skills and practice and having people around you that will model for you how to fight when the stakes are high. It's really hard to ask young people to do it if we don't do it. That was a total tangent and unrelated to the original question. I'm sorry I got there.
No, it was beautiful. Thanks, Logan. Do you guys have any, you have given us so much wisdom today, and again, your humor and levity go a long way, but really the undertones of your guys' courage in doing what you do means so much. Do you guys have any kind of closing wrap-up thoughts you want to share?
So I was having a conversation the other day, and I was saying, what if Israelis were able to actually not spend so much time in bunkers and spend so much time dealing with conflict? Imagine the even higher level of success that Israelis could have. And someone that I was speaking to actually said it's the opposite. The reason why Israelis have such a high level of success is because they have to. It's out of necessity, and it's out of the experience that they have with war, with all these issues, that actually breeds ingenuity. So I think that's what I'll leave off with. If you're not confident about speaking out, and if you're not everyone has a personality that likes to be vocal and public facing. You can do a lot of things privately that make a huge difference. Just never be afraid to be who you are, and never be afraid to be Jewish, because it's hot, you know?
And I would leave you with this, and maybe I said it earlier and I'm just repeating myself, but for good or bad, we were made for this. We were made for this. This is in our DNA. This is in our ancestry. We were made for moments like this, so we shouldn't shy away from them. This is our time. We get to define from this moment on who we are and how we are going to let people in our lives and in our world treat us. And this is a huge opportunity, and I think we should start to look at it like that. So all of you are here. You should be so proud of being here and being unapologetically who you are in this moment, because there are a lot of people that won't be, but we should be, because we were made for this.
Thank you.